Hello, and thank you for joining us for this encore presentation of one of Viking's most special journeys. Our friends at All Travel look forward to building the trip of your dreams, and at Viking, we look forward to welcoming you on board. Enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining Traveling Virtually with Viking. We greatly appreciate the support of our travel advisors for inviting you to attend this presentation today. Please be advised that our virtual chat and question box is open, so ask those questions as we go. We'll be answering them during and after the presentation. And now I'd like to introduce Darren Dolan, Viking Director of Business Development. Darren is a 20-year-plus cruise industry veteran that has worked for both luxury and small ship cruise lines throughout his career. He has been with Viking for nearly 10 years, so he brings us a wealth of knowledge on our subject matter we'll be discussing today. Please join us in welcoming Darren as we explore Bordeaux. Darren?
Hey, good morning, Michael. Thank you so much. I know it's all early hours on the West Coast, so all those joining us this afternoon, this morning, absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for this continuation of traveling virtually Viking. I'm absolutely loving these presentations. It's a great opportunity to give more insight and share personal experiences as we're going to be doing today here with Bordeaux. So 2016, that was when I sailed with Viking in Bordeaux, and what a wonderful experience it was. And hopefully some of the stories and information I can share with you today will entice you to come join and sail with us. And to our wonderful travel partners out there attending today, thank you so much. Troubling times that we're all going through, I believe this gives us an opportunity for us to make contact in the best and only way possible right now. And for those of you with your clients joining us today, thank you so much for bringing them forward as well. And hopefully, again, between ourselves, our partnerships, and our fabulous Viking guests and future clients, a great opportunity to travel virtually until the doors open and we can do this for real sometime soon. Really looking forward to this. So without further ado, let's move on to discovering the chateau, rivers, and wine with Viking. As we know, we've come a long way. The 23rd year now that we're operating as Viking. Humble beginnings there in Russia, and which basically in 2011, 2012, when we introduced the Viking longships, brought the real insight and the inquisitiveness to what river cruising was all about here in the North American market. And since then, we've just run, and it's just been absolutely fabulous. We've come such a long way in such a short period of time. And today we find that river cruising truly is one of the fastest growing segments, most intriguing segments of the industry, and one that many of our North American clients have got to enjoy with us. As you can tell by the river world of Viking in this map laid out here, the options and the choices are numerous. And I'm sure you probably enjoyed joining some of my colleagues in focusing on some of these other cities and rivers that we do travel to along the series. But again, please, if you are on this call and presentation and you are intrigued and interested in cruising on one of the other itineraries that Viking offer, please reach out to your travel advisors. Thank you so much. You will get the copies of these presentations to share with your clients to move further ahead. But today's focus brings it into France, where we have several options for cruising. We enjoy the northern regions of France on the Seine. We love the southern regions on the Rhone and the Provence region. But today is going to bring us to the western regions of France and to quite a unique itinerary. Chateaux, rivers, and wine. I think that title says it all. It's quite a different itinerary to what we've become accustomed to in river cruising, whereby in this 8 days, we are going to be solely focused really on the whole wine element, on the culinary element that brings us together on this magnificent itinerary. Also, you'll see as well that, the Portugal is very heavy, obviously, on Bordeaux. And Bordeaux having so much to offer as itself as the center of this magnificent winemaking region. And then ports of call as we sail along the three major rivers of this tour, sailing on the Gironde, on the Dordogne, as well as on the Garonne rivers as well. As you can see by the map, it's rather a truncated itinerary. It's not as outreaching as a Danube or as a Rhine would be concerned, but for very good purpose too, because the main elements of the wine are all focused within the small area and the small region. Already on this map, I'm sure you're starting to see names of regions that we are familiar with as we start seeing Saint-Emilions and we start seeing the Pauillacs. So let's take a little deeper delve into exactly what this itinerary brings to us. It is an 8-day itinerary. There will be 7 guided tours on each of days, and again, with the essence and the focus really being on the wines of that region. Day 1 is going to find us, obviously, if you haven't already partaken in maybe a pre-stay in Paris or Lyon or Loire Valley, which we'll look at as we get further into the presentation. But day 1 will find us arriving and boarding on our vessel, which will be docked in Bordeaux. As normally is the case, it's a day to stretch our legs, to get ourselves settled into our staterooms, meet the wonderful members of staff. But what I do love about this itinerary is the proximity to where the ship is docked. So there's going to be ample opportunities for you to self-explore Bordeaux. But as always, we're going to welcome you on board, and then the very evening that we're there, night 1, what a wonderful opportunity to join our local guide as we're going to be taking a tour, an evening tour through the streets of Bordeaux on our Bordeaux evening walk. Our local guide for the evening will stroll through the city. We're going to see the city's many monuments. It's a beautiful city by day, but it's just the illuminations of the city during the evening really brings a different aspect and different feel to the surroundings. It truly is. It's also going to give us a wonderful opportunity to savor the local wines at one of the numerous wine bars that can be found in the Bordeaux central area. And again, you know, feel free to stay in after the tour. We're not sailing anywhere this evening. I love to be able to this. Is one of the things I'm renowned for, is, you know, discovering and just going into small little bars and restaurants. And, you know, again, I always like to say there's no better time to taste the produce of the region while we're in that region. So feel free, after you continue on your, you know, the finalization of your tour, take some private time. We're always offering you the street maps on board the vessel. Your tour guide will gladly provide you some recommendations of where you can go and enjoy such a wine at wherever wine little bar you'd like to go to. So a great way to start off this program here in Bordeaux. Day 2 will find us in the morning, our first morning arriving here in Bordeaux. And to kick things off, we're going to, as we do in many of our tours, is to get that feel of the panoramic area. So we're going to enjoy a panoramic tour of Bordeaux. Bordeaux is actually the world's largest urban UNESCO World Heritage Site. We're going to tour the capital of the namesake wine-growing region that, except for Paris, actually boasts most protected buildings than any other French city. Bordeaux truly is a treasure chest of UNESCO World Heritage Sites. And after the tour, we're going to enjoy some free time. Again, we all like to enjoy that free time. And just as a personal note, I can highly recommend going and enjoying some time there at the Bordeaux Wine Museum. It's great, you know, it's such close proximity to where we dock, and I think it really is a great way to prepare yourself for the journey ahead. We obviously going to get to learn about the history of the wines in the region. We're going to get to learn about the production, the different terroirs, about the wine barrel making. And, you know, tickets to entrance to the museum is approximately about $10. So great value and some great time to spend, and just, you know, furthering your education and knowledge of the wines of the region, which we're going to be enjoying. And then it's back to the ship that evening. Enjoy some wonderful dinner, as we always do, with those wonderful French elements included in the menu. And this evening, we're going to be enjoying some scenic sailing as we set sail upstream to Cadillac. So the morning of day 3, we are going to be acquainted with this charming port town of Cadillac. Yes, the name may look familiar, maybe pronouncing it a little bit different, but it's true. This is where the famed US car manufacturer actually acquired its name from. So Cadillac Cadillac, so one and the same. We'll take a leisurely stroll through one of France's most charming towns. It was actually originally built as a fortified village, and its sole purpose was to protect Bordeaux from the vessels coming down river. So it was a fortress to stop basically the raiding of the Bordeaux wine region itself. During the included tour, we obviously are going to get to sample some of France's sweetest wines as we drive across the Garonne River into the prestigious Saturn Appalachian. And it's fed by the river's waters. It has rich soil, and the beautiful cooling Atlantic breezes give forth to the Sauterne is made from the Semillon, the Sauvignon Blanc, and the Muscadel grapes. And what's different about this grape growing is the fact that the grapes themselves have been affected by what we call noble rot. This actually causes the grapes to become almost raisin-like. And this then results in a concentrated, distinctive flavor of the wine. Chateau Camus is probably one of the most celebrated of these Sauterne wines. It's very sweet. It's very, just full-bodied. It's thickening. Mainly seen as a dessert wine, but I also love the pairing of a fabulous Sauterne with a Cire foie gras as well. So fabulous options for the Sauterne wines here that we find in Cadillac. Day 4 is really going to bring us now into the heart of the Bordeaux area, and we're going to be docked this morning in Le Borgne, and we're going to take a lovely leisurely stroll through Le Borgne's picturesque city square. The square itself is lined with buildings that date back as far as the 16th century, and at the conclusion of this wonderful sightseeing tour walk that will be, we then have the option to join one of two amazing tours that's based on your interests. We're going to give the opportunity to choose from, of course. The first of which is the world of truffles. Oh my goodness, get me going with truffles. It is a must tour for the truffle lover, or for those even inquiring minds who want to know and maybe haven't tasted truffles but want to get the opportunity to have that wonderful chance to taste these magnificent luxuries of culinary world. We're going to get to learn the intricate art of truffle hunting from a local farmer and his dog, as we see imaged on this slide right here. The truffles themselves are grown in the ground and found near oak and hazelnut trees. Truffles, they are notoriously difficult to locate, and thus the magnificent training of the dogs themselves. So during your tour, you're going to see how the well-trained dogs will actually sniff out the truffle. They will bring attention to the truffle location to the farmer, but the truffles are delicate. So they will kind of just use their noses just to ground out the earth, but without actually making any damage to the truffles. Something we don't want to see, because if you ever see the price of these truffles, you'll understand why it is such a delicate format of finding the truffles themselves. And during the visit, obviously, we're going to get to learn everything there is to know about these rare, elusive black Périgord truffle is what we're going to be finding in this region of Bordeaux. And as is normally the case, this will be followed by a lunch with the farmer. And of course, the black truffle is going to be the main ingredient throughout this entire luncheon. So getting to learn about the truffle, getting to see how the truffles are sourced by the farmer and his dog, and then ultimately, obviously, the piece de resistance is actually getting to taste these magnificent truffles within the luncheon that was going to be included on this tour as well. And then following the lunch, the tour then continues to the famed historic town of Saint-Emilion, probably one of the most renowned and locations, and so many people loving to enjoy the Saint-Emilion wine wherever we may be. Saint-Emilion, it is actually the home to the world-famous wineries and magnificent architecture and great monuments. It's actually, the region is of Aquitaine, and Saint-Emilion is actually one of Aquitaine's most sea wine growing towns. Itself is an open air museum It's easy to feel as though you have stepped back in time when we're actually touring through Saint-Emilion. Our guide will take us for a short drive to the Hillside medieval village. It's perched on top of this limestone plateau, which overlooks then the vastness of the magnificence of these vineyards, vineyard upon vineyard upon vineyard, and the views up and from the plateau are just magnificent, as you would see here in the scene we're looking at here. The town itself of Saint-Emilion was founded by the modest Breton hermit in the 8th century, and it grew to be into a monastic center for many who followed. For centuries, life here has evolved around the harvesting of the grapes and the wine making. Saint-Emilion has the honor of being the first vineyard region declared as a World Heritage Site by UNESCO. Again, just an example of the architecture and the beautiful designs that can be found in Saint-Emilion. But the second of the optional tours to be enjoyed while we are Dockland born is to enjoy the historic Saint-Emilion and Chateau vineyards visit. Again, we get to discover the UNESCO World Heritage listed Saint-Emilion region, and we get to enjoy a wonderful 3-course lunch with a wine tasting. This tour actually begins with a guided walk around Le Born again, where we are docked, passes through the open air market. If that market is open, it is something of magnificence. All the local produce brought to the docks, seeing that the locals go about just shopping for their dinners, and just the whole contact of market life is just magnificent. At the same time, we're going to be obviously enjoying and getting to learn all about the local heritage. Before that, we go on and we get to enjoy some free time to explore on our own, and then we travel on to Saint-Emilion. Again, enjoying an amazing 3-course lunch and taking a guided tour of the historic chateau and seeing the vineyards and learning all about the various grape varietals grown and efforts employed to maintain the chateaus. It's very much like our home visits that we do on many of our itineraries. For those who maybe have sailed with us in the past, home visits are most definitely something of interest. You get to learn the everyday life that the folks there are enjoying, and what their culture and their food aspects are all about. It's very similar when we do our chateau tours, and to ensure that we don't overcrowd any individual chateau, the groups will be as divided, and then we'll take visits to different chateaus along the way as well. And of course, then we also have the opportunity to visit the wine cellars of these chateaus, and obviously the highlight of these visits is the actual wine tasting. And always opportunity wherever we're going to be enjoying these magnificent wine tastings. The opportunity to purchase the wines is obviously there, and we highly encourage everybody sailing with us. Obviously, this is the opportunity to taste the Saint-Emilion wines, the Bordeaux wines at their best. Purchase them at the chateaus, at the very essence of where they're produced. Bring them back to the ship. Yes, we are offering wonderful wines complimentary during our dinners, as we always do, but if there was a wine you fell in love with during your visit of that day and the tasting, bring it into the restaurant. We'll open it for you. We don't have corkage and such like that. Again, enjoying the produce of the region while we are sailing through that region is very important to us and to you. Day 5 is going to find us in Bordeaux. This old village of Bordeaux reclines along the Gironde and just beyond the confluence of the Garonne and the Dordogne rivers, and the town of Cognac. You can opt to take part in what, to me, honestly, is one of the most amazing tours I've ever experienced at Viking. It truly was mind-blowing. Absolutely thoroughly enjoyed it. We see it imaged here on the slide that we're looking at, and that's the taste of cognac at the House of Camus. Not to be mistaken, if you ever see the spelling of Camus, it's C-A-M-U-S, sometimes confused with Camus of the Napa Valley fame, but this is pronounced Camus, and it is the House of Cognac. And actually, this is an example of falling into Viking's privileged access program, because no other cruise line around actually has access to the manner that we have here at the House of Camus. Is exclusive to Viking. And Camus is actually the only surviving French family-owned cognac house. We're all very familiar with the Martels of the world and the Hennessy's of the world and Courvoisier. These are all now foreign-owned. Camus still remains in the original family and is wholly French-owned. What do we get to enjoy here? And I think the slide speaks volumes to that. It's basically under the auspice of the resident cognac maker, we get to blend our very own bottle of cognac. As you see laid out on the image here, the 4 varietals that actually go into blending a cognac. We get to taste each of these varietals. We get to know their taste and their significance. And basically just by making minuscule drops initially, we get to make that wonderful blend that we love for ourselves. And it's very personal. You may not like the cognac that your neighbor is making. You might like it more intense. You might like it smoother. It's all up to you. And that's the beauty of this little scientific experiment that we do. Once you've completed and finalized what your blend of these four varietals would be based on their percentages, we go to the large casks at the back. We take our flask and we fill them up accordingly. And then from there, we blend it into the jug. And then finally, the finished product will go into the little bottle. You see the little bottles there, it's 500 milliliter bottles. Then comes the personalization of this bottle itself. Actually writing your name, the date, and your signature on the label with the percentages handwritten of your blend. Having that label then adhered to the bottle, it's presented in a magnificent wooden case, and that is yours to take home. But it's the experience that keeps on giving. We bring this home with us. Obviously, we enjoy it. We share this experience with friends and family. And before you know it, that bottle may have come to an end, as it most probably will. Good things should be enjoyed, right? So what the wonderful thing about this is the blending number that's adhered to that label is kept on record by the House of Camus. So you have the opportunity, as I have done personally. My wife surprised me last year with a Father's Day gift. She went online onto their website, just provided my blending number, and they shipped it over to the United States. So what an amazing experience. And again, it's just not what you experience that day. It's an experience that goes on forever as long as you want to keep on ordering the Camus cognac. So magnificent opportunity there. The remainder of the day is going to find us then making our way to Blaye. Blaye really is the producer of fine red wines. It's a beautiful little scenic town. It rests here on the Gironde River, just north of Bordeaux. And we're going to get to explore the scenic citadel complex along the banks of the Gironde estuary. And it's a magnificent grand citadel, as you see here. It's a fortress which is built on the orders of Louis XIV. And then dramatically set on this rock along the river. The 17th century citadel, dramatic, is going to be part of the tour itself. Of course, we're going to be enjoying the walks around the citadel, and we're going to have time to take in the beautiful setting and the views here over the estuary. And the citadel of Blaye and the nearby forts of Patay and Medoc are collectively listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And here we're going to get all this, as we love to do, is enjoy some free time in Blaye as well before we get to return to our ship. I think that wonderful fact that we have that magical mix of going to these tours, enjoying the tours and getting a layer of the region and the highlights, and your guides will give you recommendations, and that's what then we can enjoy on the free time as well. So and find a little cafe, find a wine bar, find the local wine store if you so wish as well. So just a wonderful mix of the timing that we put into tours and free time is very important. We're making our way then onto day 6, and our port of call today is Pauillac. Pauillac is located in the heart of the Medoc region, and the village of Pauillac lies on the left bank of the broad marshy Garonne estuary. Of course, Some names are very familiar to us, probably the most celebrated wines of the region here on the left bank. And we're going to get to sample some of France's finest wines in the Margaux appellation. This label you see here is obviously from the famed Chateau Margaux. And starting as a stately chateau, when my experience was actually brought me to the Chateau Siran. And we had a magnificent tour, again, family owned. We got to learn about the local, the terroir and the regions, obviously the appellations of Chateau Margaux, of Chateau Siran itself. But what I was most excited about, having enjoyed the wine tasting at the conclusion of this tour and the Grand Reserve that we got to taste as well, is actually on my return back to the United States, a visit to my local Total Wines here. Well, lo and behold, what's in the wine case? But bottles of the Chateau Siran that I'd seen the production of, the vineyards of, the winemaker of, and then to find the bottled goodness of Chateau Siran at my very local Total Wines was magnificent. Yes, and of course I had to purchase it. Right, again, one of those wonderful stories that I get to share with friends, and when they come to our house for dinner, and I pull out the Chateau Siran, and I get to share pretty much the same stories, and I'm sharing with you all today as well. So again, that's those wonderful hands-on experiences that we get to enjoy. And then the evening is another Viking exclusive. And how this is done is just beyond me. It is absolutely fabulous. So during the day when we're all off and touring and getting to taste these magnificent wines of the Margaux region, our chef and his brigade and our onboard staff are all feverishly working. Because at the end of our tour today, we do not go back to the ship. Instead, we make our way to our final chateau of the day. This is Chateau Lyoville. And Chateau Lyoville is going to be the location for our off-ship dinner. It is something of magnificence. We all arrive at the Chateau Lyoville. We have a tour. We go through to the winery and down into the cellars. Obviously, we get to taste, and then we're brought back. They have this wonderful location where they do events. It's an outdoor event location, and it's going to be hosted by Chateau Lyoville and catered for by Viking, by the chef and our onboard chefs. And we get to enjoy this magnificent cultural evening, a blend of local cuisine, obviously the fantastic wines of Chateau Lyoville, and some elements of culture cultural entertainment brought into that evening as well. It is amazing how we do this. It's stunning. It's bringing Viking off the ship to a chateau for us to enjoy, and again, really bringing in that cultural experience, that immersion as we would. And then a conclusion of the dinner, obviously, it's back to the ship and getting ready for the next day. And the next day is going to find us back now into Bordeaux. But this is not the end of our tour. 7 full days of enjoyment. And we're going to return back to Bordeaux. And it's here that we're going to have a couple of few options to enjoy from again on this final day in Bordeaux. You could maybe opt to visit a local cooper and discover the art of barrel making. Here we're going to learn how wine barrels are made and enjoy the vintages and which they're agreed on, and this delightful excursion. We're going to drive with our guide from the ship to Pauillac to the Loudon Medoc, and this is the home to the barrel maker La Nadielle. And here we're going to enjoy a guided tour of the factory and see how the wooden slats are shaped into the casks, which are designed to age fine Bordeaux wines. From here, we will continue on to the Chateau Palamomé, and here we're going to again sample their wines, which results during a tour of the cellars and a tasting, and continue then on to a third of the chateaus visited this day, onto Chateau Lyoville, Portfouet. It's local, is on the Gironde estuary, and it lets it take advantage of the pebbly earth that regulates the soil temperature And then we're going to get to tour its cellars and sip on the wines, and we're obviously paired with some magnificent artisanal cheeses as we go as well. And conclusion of the tours of the barrel making tour will then conclude as we make our way back to the ship in Bordeaux. But then, if you are an oyster lover, this tour is a must. Our tour to Arcachon. We're going to enjoy a scenic drive by motor coach to the Atlantic coast, and then into the elegant resort town of Arcachon to experience the daily life of the oyster farmer. When we arrive, we'll find ourselves surrounded by the red roofs of Victorian-era villas and the fishing boats bobbing up and down on the water. At the pier, we'll embark on a vessel that's going to take us on a short cruise into the open water across the bay to an oyster farm. Here we're going to get to learn all about the farming techniques, the cultivation, and the different varietals of the oyster themselves. Then this culminates in us getting to sample the day's catch. I can't tell you how amazing this was. Smacks of the seas, probably the finest oysters that I've got to enjoy throughout all my travels. I'm an oyster lover, and these were just magnificent. And they're in the baskets. The farmers basically take them out right there. They've just been picked. Pairing that with a lovely, chill, cool, crisp Sancerre wine, and just the pairing, some rustic bread. It just really brings the fruit of the labor forth to you. But we're not then done, because after tasting these magnificent oysters, we get back on to our vessel, and our vessel then is going to take us on a continuation for our luncheon. And our luncheon there is held at the fashionable headlands of the Cap Ferret. And again, we're going to enjoy the magnificence of the seafood that this region has to offer, this wonderful cold Atlantic seafood options. And at the conclusion of the fresh from sea meal, we will then make our way back across the bay, back into Arcachon, and then our drive back to the ship to Bordeaux for conclusion of day 7. Day 8 would be that day of disembarkation, and sadly, many of us traveling then home. But as I alluded to in the beginning, because we have the options for pre and post, your experience in Bordeaux, in France at least, may not be over. Viking does an amazing job at providing opportunities to extend either pre and post. In this particular instance here, we have a 3-night Paris stay, and then to continue to ensure that we're really maximizing the wine experience, as many, obviously, if we have to be wine lovers if we're coming to enjoy Bordeaux, then further extending that to another famed winemaking region of France, that to the Loire Valley. And so a great opportunity to just lengthen your wine experience while here in France. And of course, please, if you want more information on availability, pricing, and such, and planning, of course, please reach out to your travel advisor, and they will be gladly able to provide you more information on to further extending your Viking itinerary here in France. And of course, with any other questions you may have, requests you may have for anything Viking, please do not hesitate to reach out to your advisor and to make your planning available for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank you all so very much indeed. It's been an absolute pleasure. I hope you've enjoyed this rather truncated journey to Bordeaux. As you can probably tell, I'm quite passionate about the food and the wine aspect. I had a remarkable time. If you are of interest and want to enjoy this Bordeaux cruise, please do not hesitate. And hopefully we will be able to welcome you back on board very, very soon. Thank you all so much. Michael.
Okay, Darren. So we have a few questions, and the first one is specific to the truffle hunting. Is that included in the cost of the cruise, or is that an additional?
That's an optional. That's an additional. As we always say, Viking does provide included tours on each and every port that we visit. But then we do have those specialty interest tours, our optional tours, as we like to allude to them. And the optional tours do come at additional cost for participation. Those costs do vary based on what the experience would be.
Perfect. And then the next question is specific to the Camus tour. Is that also an optional?
That unfortunately is also an optional, as you can probably well guess by how in depth it goes and the opportunity to enjoy that and have that hands-on. The cost of the cognac bottle and everything itself does come at an optional. Don't quote me, but I believe that was around about $180 the last time I heard. So it is quite on the upper scale of the costs involved. But as you probably could well tell, it wasn't just an occasion for the day. It was an occasion that can give back for many years to come.
Great. And then a lot of the time is spent in Bordeaux, the actual city of Bordeaux. Is the city walkable from the ship?
Absolutely. This is one of the beauties whereby we dock. Basically, if you were to get off the ship, be careful. There's tram lines there. The tram lines and then the main road. Make your way across the main road. 2 blocks. Take a right. Follow the streets in, and then you come right to the main square. And so it's safe. And so, as I alluded to in the beginning, feel free to extend your stay after the tours. The information maps and what the front desk of the ship can advise you, as well as your guide if you just enjoyed one of the tours. I spoke about the museum. The museum, if you were to come off the ship, take a ride, again, 3 or 4 blocks maximum, and you'll actually be there at the museum. It's one of the beauties, and great question as well, because this itinerary is a little bit different than the fact that there is so much concentration of being in Bordeaux. But the beauty of it is accessible, and you have plenty of free time to enjoy it.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your presentation, Darren. It was amazing. And I just want to thank all of our travel advisors and again, their clients for joining us today. If you have any additional questions about this Bordeaux itinerary or any of Viking's itineraries, please reach out to your favorite travel advisor. Thanks again for joining Traveling Virtually with Viking, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you all very much. Bye-bye.